Next item on the agenda is the general consent calendar. Are there any items that board members request to be removed? Board member Earl.
Yes, let me look at just go back on my agenda here so I can get the exact item. I'd like item number 3 and 6 pulled.
Okay, so item 3, grants for approval, and number 6, Utah Connect K-12 education.
Yes.
Okay, board member Cannon. Board member Cannon, did you have an item to pull?
Now I'm unmuted. Thank you. I'd like to ask a question on item number 4, please.
Okay, so we'll pull item 4. Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved. Board member Cannon.
Okay. Board member Marsh, did you have a question? I don't know if I missed you.
No, I was just going to make a motion, so I'll second that motion.
Perfect, thank you. The motion before us is to approve the general consent calendar with items 3, 6, and 4 removed. Is there any discussion to that motion? Board member Cannon?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have any. I just have a question on 4.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Okay, seeing none, please vote. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. And for the record, board member Bolter is present for that vote. Okay, so item 3, board member Earl.
My question with this item is, do we know what data specifically they'll be pulling from our state longitudinal data system? It seems pretty broad here, and I'm just wondering if we know the specific data. We also know that WestEd is already doing something very similar. So my question is, I guess, do we know what data? That's question number 1. And question number 2 has to do with, is this something the Department of Education is wanting to do? I understand they're funding it, but is this something they want, or is this something we initiated? I'm just curious where this came from, and then just what data will be collected. So I don't know if there's someone that can answer those specific questions.
Okay. Do we have someone present who'd like to speak?
We could come back to it if we needed to, if we're waiting for someone to address it.
Superintendent, is there somebody that you would like to speak to this? If we should hear the question now or later?
Vice Chair Cummins, can somebody repeat the question again? I apologize. This is Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings.
Thank you. Go ahead. We're on item on the consent calendar, item 3. So board member Earl, if you'd like to repeat your question. Please.
Yeah, this has to do with the EARS funding for enhancement of at-risk students program and accessing of our state longitudinal data system on our students, specifically those at risk. I'm wanting to know what data they will be accessing through or is it just an open kind of a whatever data you need? I'm wondering what information they'll be accessing, because I know that WestEd is already working on something similar, so it seems like it might be duplicating. So that's the initial question there.
This is Albert Tay.
Yeah, okay. This is Scott. Go ahead, Albert. Sorry. If you're okay, Chair Cummins, I wasn't sure Albert was on. But Albert Tay's on right now. So Chair Cummins, can you answer Board Member Earl's question, please?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Albert.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Albert.
The financial information comes from the finance group, and we are looking at this at-risk group people, the students only, and so we'll be looking at the participation of this group of students, and you only utilizing their data in terms of evaluating the effectiveness and efficiency of this program. So we're not looking at every single student in that sense, only those involved in the program. And this data is mostly from this data is the student data is from our information system.
Okay, so it's financial data on students that would qualify for this particular funding, and is the funding specifically through the federal government, is that right?
The year's program, yes.
Okay,
And so the WESAT will be providing WESAT with the data, and they will be analyzing it. Basically, if you look at it in a business term, we're looking at ROI, or return on investment, in terms of the program and the efficiency of it. This is a continuation of the program that they are currently performing.
so would you say this is an expansion of that research? It's just expanding it a little bit more than, in other words, it's the current research that's going on, it's expanding into this specific program. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes. That's what we are planning to do.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Board Member Marsh, the question. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion? This is a grant for approval. So if there's a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, the motion before us is to approve item 3, grants for approval on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion to that motion? Okay, seeing none, please vote. Board Member Newell, Board Member Bolter. Board Member Newell. Okay. That motion passes. Board Member Newell did not cast a vote. Okay. Okay, item number 6, Board Member Earl.
Yes, my question has to do with timeframes, and I know there was an outline there. I just want to make sure I understand that if these micro grants, and maybe even finding out when will we know about the micro grants as far as if we were accepted or given funding for these particular grants. That's question one. And then the second question has to do with the time frame. We will be implementing this. It looks like trying to get this implemented by halfway through the year. Is that an accurate statement, or will that not be implemented until next fall? I guess Sarah Young might be the person to ask these questions to.
Sarah, if you'd like to respond, please.
Thank you. So Sarah Young, Director of Strategic Initiatives. So they haven't given a very clear time frame for the intended award period. However, the opportunity to apply did state that our project start date could be as soon as August 1st. So that's what you see represented in the proposal. So I know that the Department of Education is trying to quickly expedite those funding decisions, but that would be the soonest that I think we'd know, which is why our proposal is projected to start at that date. Based on the requirements specific to then going through the RFP process, opening it up for a month for parents to be able to apply, and then being able to provide services, our plan would be to have those services in place by November of this 2020 school year, with the intention of being able to replicate that cycle for future years in the summer months, so that services would start consecutive with the school year in 2021 and 2022.
So can I follow up with another question then?
Yes.
So are you saying that we're trying to set this up in such a way that parents could begin such a process by August, by time school starts, and maybe get reimbursed? Am I understanding? Is that what I'm?
So not quite.
It seems like there's a lot of movement in order to get it for the first of this year. That's why I'm trying to understand the time frame.
Yes. So there are definitely, and we try and outline that in the proposal, action steps that have to occur at the agency before these services would be available for awards to families. And so we try and outline those. The one clarification I will provide is that the awarding of a micro grant is the awarding of services. So it's not a direct reimbursement program. It's an application for access to the courses, the broadband and or the technology. And once that award was made, it would be communicated to the provider, who would then provide those specific services or technologies to the family directly. So there's actually no exchanging of funds between the state and the family. It's directly between us and the service providers that are outlined in the proposal.
Okay, I think that may have been a couple of my questions I had, which then brings up some others, but I'll call you on.
Okay. This also is an action item. Does somebody like to make a motion? If everyone can please check their mute really quick, that'd be great. Somebody
May
like
I
to
ask
make
a
a motion
question
on
before we
item?
vote?
Oh,
Brittany?
yes. Yes, sorry. Board Member Cannon, go ahead. On
Thank
number
you.
6.
On number 6.
Okay.
So, Sarah, as I read through this, it said this is a discretionary grant, and I'm wondering how that differs from a competitive grant, because it seemed like when I looked at, the possibility of Utah getting this grant, there were other states that looked like they might be much more in a position where they would qualify for this. So I'm wondering what are our chances of getting this grant? How does a discretionary grant differ from a competitive grant? And is there any cost to us for applying for this money?
Thank you. Chair, may I respond?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Board Member Cannon, great questions. So let me try and break it down. In terms of the discretionary grant, although we will go through a competitive grant evaluation process where we are reviewed by external evaluators who then provide feedback to the program officers at the U.S. Department of Education, it's ultimately at the discretion of the U.S. Department of Education to be able to make the awards. So an example of a differentiator would be in a traditional competitive grant application, you would automatically go to the proposals that had the highest scores from the external reviewers. In this particular case, the U.S. Department of Education has noted 3 absolute priorities. And so because of that, they have made the statement that provided that there are proposals of quality in each of those absolute priorities, that they are going to look to fund at least one proposal within each of those, regardless of where they scored. So I think it's a nuanced difference. We're still competing.
Hey, Sydney.
Hey, your mic is on.
Oh, okay, it's finally working.
So it's a bit nuanced. It is still a competitive application, but ultimately the U.S. Department of Education will be making those decisions about the awards based on the information from that competitive review. In regards to our chances, so it is definitely something where there is 100 points that are available to each state who's applying. 20 of those points are predetermined based on the COVID burden that was identified by the U.S. Department of Education. And that's going to be based on a series of data points, including our number of COVID cases, our unemployment numbers, as well as our broadband access within the broader community. Because Utah has done a lot of work to make sure that we have a strong broadband infrastructure, we don't score competitively within that category, which led us to in the projections for the numbers they put out for the overall state rankings, we were in the bottom 20th percentile, meaning we would only get 4 out of those 20 points that were available. 2 clarifications on that. One is that the Department of Education did state that they intended to rerun those numbers at the point of submission. So it is possible that we could change, especially noting that our COVID case numbers have changed significantly since the proposal was released in April to now. And the second component being that in regards to the competition itself, we did select absolute priority 1 because we felt like that was a space where we could be very competitive, noting that actually we are not aware of many other states applying for that specific priority. As far as the costs related to this proposal, it was just specific to the time that myself and Dr. Curry put into developing the overall proposal, but we have not put forth any funding directly or money towards this initiative beyond our staff time.
Thank you for the answers. And I just want to say, I love that this focuses on personalized learning. That goes right along with our strategic plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Marsh.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we support the submission of the Utah Connects discretionary grant program proposal to the U.S. Department of Education.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion before us is to submit the Rethink K-12 Education Models Discretionary Grants Program. Is there any discussion to that motion? Board Member Lear? Okay.
Sorry, just voting.
Okay, fantastic. Seeing no discussion, please vote. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item from our consent is item 4, Board Member Cannon.
Thank you very much. I have a question on this. In our documentation, it tells us that 37 of 53 documents or books or whatever they were reviewed. And I'm not sure if they are asking us to just approve the ones that were reviewed and that they will review and bring the others forward later, or if they want us to approve all 53, even some that weren't reviewed. That's my question.
Okay, do we have somebody present to answer? So in the chat, it looks like Patty Norman put that just the ones that were reviewed, the other ones will be brought back.
All right. Thank you. That makes me feel great. I also want to make a comment that the people who put their time in and do this work for us and review all these materials really deserve a huge thank you, because it's very time consuming. And I think opportunity to acknowledge and thank them for doing this for us.
Thank you. Okay, this is an action item. Somebody
I
like,
move we approve item 4 on the consent calendar.
okay, is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, the motion before us is to approve item 4 on the consent calendar, spring 2020 career and technical education instructional materials review. Any discussion to that motion? I see none. Please vote. Okay, that motion passes. 1 no vote, Board Member Belknap. Thank you. Okay, that completes the consent calendar.